Hey, how's it going, everybody? Welcome to the South Sound Mariners podcast, episode 6. I am your host, Rich, or the South Sound Mariners fan. I'm joined again with my buddy Mitch, our resident Seahawks guru. And yeah, we're here for another Seahawks Mariners episode. We've been having a lot of fun recording these. Hopefully, you guys are enjoying checking them out. Honestly, this episode is going to be a little different in the sense I think we're going to run more Mariners than Seahawks for once. But don't worry, we've still got plenty of talk with the Seahawks. But yeah, how we feeling, Mitch?
Pretty good, especially after that Chiefs win.
Yeah. Not to speak too highly of the preseason, but we might be back, Chad. This is our year. We're definitely winning the Super Bowl for sure.
Okay, well, we'll see about that. I love the Seahawks, but we'll see.
I don't know, man. Like looking at the way this offense looks competent. I think it might have been Salk from the Brock and Salk show on Seattle Sports in the Morning radio show. He was talking about how, for the first time in a long time, the Seahawks offense looks like a normal NFL team's offense. It doesn't just look like, the Seahawks offense has been good before, but this just looks like what everybody else runs, which honestly is kind of refreshing to see. Like I feel like this team is going to be a little bit less of a heart attack team than years prior. It's still a Seattle team, so it's still going to be a heart attack team to some degree, but I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I can't say, I don't think they'll win the Super Bowl, because I did in the first episode that we did, episode 3 of the South Sound Mariners podcast, but I did say that I was thinking it would be a Seahawks Jaguars Super Bowl. So, well, I said I think the Seahawks will make it, and I hope that the Jaguars will make it.
Yeah, didn't you your schedule prediction had a ceiling of like 14-2 or something like that?
14-3, yeah.
Okay, look, I'm still a couple years behind. All right, leave me alone.
Clearly, yeah, we only go 14-2. We just didn't play the last game. I mean,
yeah,
sometimes what they do. So,
yeah, true. But yeah, I mean, looking back on last week's preseason game, I think we both felt pretty good going into that because the starters were going to be starting at least the first drive, and they look good. Sam Darnold looked solid. It was very run heavy, so obviously he wasn't relying on the passing game, which I honestly think is going to be really helpful for him now that I see that in action. Think about it like when you're playing college football or Madden. I don't know if you're like me, but if I'm only passing, I tend to make more mistakes. But if I'm running and passing, like if you're able to establish that run game and establish it early, it really frees up the options for Sam Darnold, either from the defense isn't expecting as many passes, or just he feels more comfortable because he's not getting 1.5 million opportunities.
Yeah.
And not to mention, I mean, the run game just looks amazing. The offensive line, like that's the most incredible thing with this team, is that the offensive line actually looks like a good offensive line, which you've been a Seahawks fan for a long time. Tell me the last time you were able to say that.
Yeah, it's never been a thing, honestly.
At least not in the John Schneider era. Like, that's been kind of his only knock that people have had against him, is the fact that his offensive lines are never really good. At least in the John Schneider era, you can definitely say that there's never been a good offensive line. That's why Russell Wilson was so useful, because he was able to run for his life. But this year with Gray Zabel, just a lot of the other offensive line guys, and also the offensive line coach that Clint Kubiak brought with him from New Orleans seems to be making a big difference. Despite the fact that the talent and personnel hasn't really changed for the offensive line, the mindset and the actual skills being put forward into the game does seem to be changing, which is promising to see for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
Now, a couple other things. Obviously, we're talking about establishing the run game and everything like that. Something I wanted to bring to you that I've been seeing floated around, and I'm curious your thoughts on it. Obviously, coming into the season, penciled in as your starting running back was Kenneth Walker. and your backup was Zach Charbonnet. After last week's game, I've seen a lot of people discussing whether or not maybe Zach Charbonnet has earned the starting spot. He seems to be a better scheme fit. Um, Now, we haven't really gotten to see Kenneth Walker really play, unfortunately, so we can only really judge it from Zach Charbonnet's side of the ball. But I'm going to be honest, ever since Zach Charbonnet joined this team, I've been a huge fan of his. I wouldn't say that I've always necessarily thought he needs to start over K9, but I've always appreciated the fact that with Zach Charbonnet and Kenneth Walker, we have a true, two-headed dragon at the running back position. What do you think about these conversations people are having surrounding Zach Charbonnet potentially maybe earning that starting spot from Kenneth Walker?
So I've seen that too. I I don't agree. Mainly because they're two different types of running backs. Like Marshawn
Mm-hmm.
Lynch was, yeah, he was a bruiser and he just ran through
Mm-hmm.
people, and that's kind of what Zach Charbonnet does. But Kenneth Walker has the speed, so if Kenneth Walker gets through the line, he's
True.
gone. Zach Charbonnet is a lot more
True.
like Marshawn Lynch, where he pushes his way through and it works, but he doesn't really have the speed. I mean, neither did Marshawn Lynch. It just worked out for the most
Yeah.
part. But so I think it should still be Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet. I think Zach Charbonnet should be our third down running back, and Kenneth Walker should be our starting running back. But I mean, I don't know.
Interesting.
George Kalani, he was proving himself in preseason.
See,
I don't think he should be the starter.
another
Don't get
crate.
me wrong. I don't think he should be the starter.
No.
But
No.
he's definitely made a point to be at least the third running back.
I have seen. I haven't seen this thrown around a ton, but with the prospect of players like Micah Parsons on the market right now, the trade market, and Trey Hendrickson from the Bengals, he just became available. Their defensive end. With Holani looking as good as he has, I've seen some people being like, well, why not trade Kenneth Walker while he still has some value, make Zach Charbonnet your running back one, and make Holani your running back two?
I mean, yeah, but at the same time, no one's really going to pick up Kenneth Walker because he also has had injury issues. And like he is
Yeah,
really good, but a lot of teams already have their
that's
running backs now. Right now, like no one's really looking for a
yeah.
running back at the moment.
Yes, but to be fair, I think even with his injury history, I still think that Kenneth Walker would draw a decent value from most teams because I would say that he is a better running back for most teams. Maybe not any of your big contenders, like, the Lions aren't going to necessarily be interested in him. They've already got a good running game. The Ravens aren't going to need him, etc., etc. But a team that might be on the cusp could consider picking up Walker. Like, honestly, the Cowboys, and this might just be me not really knowing ball aside from the Seahawks. I could see the Cowboys making some use out of Kenneth Walker. Free up the bolster your running game to free up Dak Prescott, who, as much as I like to jest and say he's garbage and stuff like that, I don't generally believe that to be the case. And with that being the case, sorry, my computer locked. That sucked. I don't know why it locked like that. I've never seen it do that before. Anyway, what we were talking about Charbonnet. We were talking about Kenneth Walker's trade value. Like I could see the Cowboys utilizing him. Now, that being said, I don't want to trade Kenneth Walker unless the package was right. I would be willing to part with him, but it'd have to be a damn good trade. It'd have to be so worth it. So I don't know. I don't know if I couldn't tell you off the top of my head a trade that I think would be worth K9 for, but I feel like it's out there somewhere for me. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but that's what I mean is the teams that would trade for him don't have anything really worth trading for him.
Yeah,
other
realistically,
than
the
Micah
only like
Parsons, but still, even that is kind of meh. Mainly
yeah,
because like I think
you
our defense is essentially good to go at this point. Like I'm not saying we don't need Micah Parsons. We don't need Micah Parsons, but I wouldn't be like opposed to him. You know, if we got him, we got him. But
he he would be Micah Parsons is one of those ones where the package would have to be right. Now, Trey Hendrickson on the other end, because I would say that we could always use a star defensive end. Um, I I want the Seahawks to go for Trey Hendrickson. I think that we have the picks. We have the readily available players because okay. Something that we're noticing from these preseason games is that this roster is very, very deep. This is an extremely deep roster. There's a lot of depth at just about every single position. That also gives you a lot of trade power as well. So I don't know. The Seahawks are in a really interesting position where it feels like they're extremely competitive. Like, people are putting us now post preseason because we talked about it during the first episode. It was really frustrating to see how people were just like really downplaying how well the Seahawks were going to do. And then they just come in firing on all cylinders in preseason, and people are like, whoa, like they're doing good enough in preseason for us to take notice. It's one thing to do good in preseason, it's another thing to do good enough in preseason to start changing people's minds. That doesn't happen very often. Um, so the Seahawks are very competitive, but I feel like if you give them one or two more pieces, whether that be defense, whether that be offense, this team becomes scary. Like this team is already looking scary purely off of the fact that the scheme, the playbook looks extremely effective. You match that with some incredible talent, who's going to stop us? Looking at going into this final preseason game, like this is where they show out. Now, we were talking about it before we started recording that I honestly haven't seen whether or not the starters are whether or not the starters are going to be starting in this game for either team. But even then, I mean, think about how important this game is. Like this is probably preseason game number 3 is probably going to be the closest we get to NFL level play from all guys on the roster before the actual season starts. Like the backups are going to be they're going to go all out because they need to prove that they belong here. And I could see like the starters, if they do play any of the starters, going at least 80 to 85% just to make sure that you're ramping up so that way you're not going from 50% to 100% in the first week. Um, so I'm looking forward to this game. I mean, this is the first time, I'm going to be honest, this is the first time I've really kind of paid any sort of attention to preseason. I'm usually just like, oh yeah, preseason games are happening. Did we win? Did we lose? I don't really care. It's preseason. This is the first time I paid attention to the performances of the players, to the performance of the team as a whole, to how the team has looked. Again, I keep coming back to scheme. It's just so damn good. They're so creative. There was that. What was that? Uh, there was a fake they did where they did what I was hoping they would do actually, that I mentioned in the first episode when we were talking about Jalen Milroe, where they did a QB sneak with Sam Darnold in the backfield and Jalen Milroe in the backfield, and they got the fourth down.
mm-hmm.
So they're creative. They're creative. They're run heavy and they're run effective because the fullback Oots is incredible. Like we just discussed, the O line is awesome as well. It's just this team is exciting and it's preseason. Like it's entirely possible that we go into the season and 3 weeks into the season we hop on here and we're like, well, we set ourselves up for failure. Like we're 0-3, whatever. I don't think so, but it's professional sports. Things flip on a dime like that.
Yeah.
But it's also entirely possible that we come 3 weeks into the season and we're like, yeah, dude, this team is making the Super Bowl. There's no one better than us. It This team is exciting, and that's scary because when Seattle teams are exciting, they break your heart. A little more on that later in the Mariners section. Um, I don't know. It's just there's a lot of positives going around this team. There's a lot of things that are going right, and it doesn't feel like there are. So far, it hasn't felt like there's any massive holes on this team.
Yeah. That's again, that's the problem with it coming up to the cut time is who do you cut?
Yeah.
A 53-man roster deadline is Tuesday, August 26th.
Oh fuck yeah! So that's
It's the
perfect.
day
Cool.
before.
Cool. I mean that's gonna be exciting. Seahawks are running into some good problems right now. They look good. They're fun to watch from the clips that I've seen, from the way the media is reacting to them. Like not just local media, but like national news outlets. I think it's really cool, frankly, to see them like giving the Seahawks their flowers. Like Colin Cowherd, which, granted, he's not the most like credible national media outlet person to pay attention to, but he is still one with an opinion that a lot of people pay attention to. He has the Seahawks winning the West, and he has them as the top six ranked team in the NFL right now. Like that's a one of the Fox analysts has the Seahawks as a top six team in the NFL. And if he does, and he's the one where people are like, yeah, you're kind of crazy, that still means this team is like in the bottom half or in the top half of the league. So exciting time to be the Seahawks. Really looking forward to Saturday, not Thursday, to see how this team does, and see what they cut down this roster to, because it's not going to be an easy decision. It's not going to be an easy decision at wide receiver. It's not going to be an easy decision at halfback. Your defense, it's not going to be easy. It really isn't, and I'm excited to see what this roster looks like come Tuesday.
Mm-hmm.
So, with that all being
Real
said,
quick.
do you have any
Yes.
other? Oh yeah, I was just gonna say, if you have any other Seahawks points, real quick, before we pivot to the Mariners, because like I said, I got some shit I need to talk to you
I
about.
was just curious where the official like ESPN power rankings had the Seahawks. They have them at number
Hmm.
17.
You know what? I'll take that honestly, because I think they were ranked like 25 and lower earlier, or something around there. Like they were in like the 20s and
They
lower.
were ranked
So them move being.
they were ranked number
Mhm.
26 pre-draft.
Yeah.
They got ranked number 16 post-draft. They went down to 17 after this most recent game.
Is it we went, because obviously like physically we went down, but is it we went down, or did just some other teams go up, you know? Because we
Um,
didn't go down that much to where like I'm like, what the fuck, ESPN? Like if you're watching the video, that is the face that I was making at first, and then I thought about it and I was like, well, we could have just gotten leapfrogged by a couple of other teams. That might not necessarily be as much of a slight on us as it is just a boost to other teams. So yeah,
well,
I mean, I'm
I
okay with
hate to
that.
break your hopes and dreams there, but
You bastard.
nah, most of the teams that moved up and down were already ahead of us.
So they just straight up moved us. Why? How?
The only
What are
the
you
only
seeing in
team
preseason that's moving you
the
down?
only team that was below us that moved up that moved us down to 17th was literally we switched places with the Steelers. They were 17th, we were 16th, and now we're 17th and they're 16th.
Of course they switched places with the Steelers because it's the fucking Aaron Rodgers team. Oh my
But
god, that's
yes,
okay. You know what? Never mind. I take back all the positivity. Fuck you, ESPN.
but yes, all the other teams that did move up, they were already above us to begin with.
But look, I will take being at 17 going into preseason with the shakeup that this team has had, with the questions on offense, um, yeah, with the questions on the coordinator side of things. Like I can stomach being at 17 going into the season. or at least going into preseason game 3. I can stomach that.
Yeah, I mean, it's not horrible. At least we're higher than we have been in previous years. But
Yeah, we're not in the 20s, which that's...
You will be happy to know ESPN does have us above your favorite team, the Cowboys.
Thank fuck.
We're only one spot
At least
ahead of
they have
them, but
something
they're
smart.
18th and we're 17th.
God. Fucking
Unfortunately,
Cowboys.
they did move up this last week from 19th to 18th.
I mean, because they're good until the games are important.
But
that's why they haven't won a Super Bowl since the fucking 90s, to any of you Dallas Cowboys fans who might potentially be listening to this.
But I bet you cannot guess who the number 32nd ranked team is.
32nd ranked team?
Yeah, where they have... Who are they?
Is it the Browns?
At the worst. Actually, no, it is not.
It's not. Where are the Browns at? Just out of curiosity.
Well, they're not much higher. They're 30th, but...
Trying to think of, like, if any... Giants?
No, they are 29th. I'll give you one last guess.
Well, at least I'm picking teams that are... kind of nearby.
Yeah.
I feel like it's going to be obvious.
It's not that obvious in my mind, but it's also not that, like, obscure either.
I don't think it'd be the Raiders. They have too much hype.
The Raiders are okay. They're 25th.
Yeah, and I don't think it's the Jets. Again, they have a bit more hype.
28th.
And I think they've looked halfway... Yeah, they've looked somewhat okay. Trying to think through, like, all the bad teams. Because the Titans have looked okay. The Bears have looked okay. I don't want to just say I don't know. I want to give you a guess. I'm struggling to find who's, like, tanking right now. Yeah, I don't who's 32?
Well, you said it. You said they looked okay. It's the Tennessee Titans.
The Jets? Oh, really?
No, the Jets are 28th. Yeah, the Tennessee Titans are ranked 32nd.
What's their reasoning? Did they give one?
Let's see. Their coach, apparently. They don't have faith in the coach this year.
Oh. Huh. Yeah, and I haven't seen really anything, like, highlights-wise to really be able to gauge how whether or not I agree with that. So, okay. Alright. Titans at 32. Wow, that's surprising.
Oh.
That's surprising. I hope they do better since they have Lockett.
That's why. Because... It's because the Titans selected Cameron Ward, number 1 pick.
Yeah.
And the past 2 coaches for teams that selected quarterbacks first didn't make it to their second season, so they're wondering if Callahan will be able to. But they do have somewhat faith in him being able to, because he's known for his work with Joe Burrow, who was the number 1 pick by the Bengals in 2020.
Yeah, I mean, God, Joe Burrow is, like, one of my favorite players,
and
probably of all time.
Cameron Ward I think he's a hella good quarterback.
Yeah,
I don't think he's going to be, like, amazing his first year, like, but I do think,
no, definitely not.
I think Coach Callahan can make him the next Joe Burrow.
Yeah, the Titans are going to be fun to watch this year.
I mean,
100%.
Come on, Cameron Ward is amazing, and he's got my favorite player to throw to. He'll be fine.
Yeah, he'll live. He'll live. Oh. Well, yeah. I mean,
okay, that was all I had. Oh, actually, one last thing.
Yeah.
Take a guess who's the number 1 and 2 teams. Both of them.
Buffalo Bills and Detroit Lions.
Hell no, you're way off. Well, okay, you're not way off. Buffalo Bills
Really?
are 3rd. Lions are 5th.
Yeah, okay. Fuck out of here. I know ball a little bit.
It is the Philadelphia
Eagles
at number 1 and the Kansas City Chiefs at number 2, and they switched spots from last week.
Yeah, I mean they're the Super Bowl winners, so they're gonna probably keep him in that first and second spot until they're shown otherwise. I guess my boss is gonna be happy. I found out today that he's a diehard Eagles fan.
Nah.
So I think we'll pivot now and talk about some Mariners real quick. Um, where do I even start, man? So, for those of you who somehow don't know and have been living under a rock, Victor Robles, who injured his shoulder back in April of this year, he's been out since April, and just last week began his rehab assignment. Um, Basically meaning, again, because there might be some people listening to this podcast who don't understand how like returning from injuries work in baseball. Rehab assignment basically means you're playing with the kind of younger guys. You're playing with the double A, triple A teams to ramp up back to being big league ready. So he's on his rehab assignment. He's playing for triple A Tacoma.
This I do know about.
Yeah.
What happened down in AAA recently?
He in I think the span of 5 games, something like that,
15 at
was
bats.
hit 5 times.
15 at bats.
Yeah, 15 at bats. He was hit 5 times. And on that fifth time, valid crash out, frankly. Mitch, I'm gonna challenge you. You don't necessarily have to, but if you can put the clip on. In case you haven't seen it, Victor Robles just fucking threw his bat at the pitcher and tried to charge the mound. Continued crashing out, yelling at him, and then was escorted to the dugout and then grabbed a bucket of seeds. Mind you, they were all packaged, so it was less cleanup for the grounds crew, but just chucked that bucket onto the field. And yeah, I mean, look, valid crash out. I get it. I do understand. You're trying to. He put out a pretty lengthy apology, and he was like, it's hard when you're trying to come back from injury, and you just want to get back to doing what you love, which I get. I understand. Especially he was adding the context of like his mom passed away recently, so he's dealing with that as well. I'm curious your opinion on this, Mitch, but actually, before I give my opinion, no. Look, like I said, valid crash out, I get it. But you can't, I mean, those of you who played baseball since T-ball, like, you don't throw a bat at a pitcher. That's not how you get your frustration out. If you need to get your frustration out and throwing the bat is what you want to do, you throw that bitch on the ground. You spike it to the ground. Because even if you don't care about the safety part of it, like you're genuinely seeing red so much to the point where you don't care about the safety of the other human who is throwing this ball at you. You don't want to deal with a suspension. Victor Robles has a 10-game suspension that just got handed down with 30 games left in the season. And this is just really frustrating. The biggest problem with that suspension is it doesn't get served until he's back in the MLB. So he can play as many games as he wants right now down in AAA. But the moment the Mariners call him back up to the MLB, he's out for 10 games. And they don't just get to replace him. Like, it's not like he's being moved to the injured list. They lose that roster spot for that 10 games, effectively playing a man down. Like, again, I get it. You're upset. You want to get back to doing what you love. And also, with some added context, this pitcher has hit him a couple times before. So, all those things coming together, I get it. But this team is trying to make a playoff push, and he just put them a man down, basically. Situation. So, he did appeal. He's not going to get the suspension removed. That's not going to happen for this. However, so from people, because I watch the Mariners players don't do this. Like, I don't often have to deal with suspensions on this team, so I don't really know like what to expect and what's coming as far as the appeal process goes. According to some people who are smarter than me, if the appeal is upheld, it likely would only get reduced to maybe 8 or 7 games. Nothing super crazy, but frankly, anything helps because again, we have 36 games left in this freaking season. Um, Another thing, as far as the being down a man on the roster, um, in September they get 2 free roster spots to call people up. The September call ups for that final month, that final push into the playoffs. Um, Now, unfortunately, because Victor Robles was expected to come back, Jerry DiPoto was actually saying that Victor Robles they were expecting to have him back this weekend. Now that that's not going to happen, that kind of limits your options for who you can call up for the September call-ups, because it would make sense to call up Victor Robles technically when that roster expansion happens, because then you're still losing a spot, but you're still gaining a spot as well because just one of your new spots is taken up. Which is really unfortunate because this team could really use 2 extra roster spots. Harry Ford, who is the catcher down in AAA, has been mashing, deserves to be up with the big league club. And so you were hoping to see him get called up for the September call-ups. And this team's bullpen has been atrocious, and they need pitching help because the starting pitching does not go deep enough into the games, and the bullpen is having to throw too many fucking innings. So you were kind of hoping that the September call-up spots would be used for a position player to bolster the offense and make your bench a little bit more versatile, and a pitcher. But now with Robles getting suspended, whether it's 10, 9, 8, 7 games, that's however many games that you now have to completely shift what you were going to do coming into September. Which is just, it's frustrating. And now, again, mind you, I'm not mad at Victor Robles. I'm not going to call for his head or anything like that. It's just, it's shitty. You know, it is what it is. It happened. It's emotions. The game is an emotional game. But it is a detriment to this team, unfortunately, in a time where they really can't afford it. Because not only did Victor Robles get suspended and thus completely alter the plans this team had going into September. So I think last episode, maybe not, or no, episode before last, Mariners were on a homestand. They went 9-1 that homestand. Okay, they were incredible. Offense was offensing, pitching was pitching really well. It was great. I believe last episode they were playing the Orioles, or had just finished up the series against the Orioles, and they lost, which was not great because the Orioles are below 500. They're not a very good baseball team. Then you went to go play the Mets, who were on a 7-game losing streak. And you lost the series to the Mets. You win 1 game out of 3. And so, you know, vibes aren't great. Offense doesn't look good. Pitching is struggling except for Brian Wu. And then today, this series against the Phillies the last 3 days, you just looked atrocious. This team looked awful. They struck out before the bullpen, because I stopped watching this game halfway through. By I think the 5th or 6th inning, they had struck out 12 times. 12 fucking times. And the night before that, they struck out like 10 times around that time. This team just looked bad. And it's really frustrating, especially when you consider the fact of how good they looked during this homestand, to then go 2-7. They went 2-7 on this road trip. Now, you add that together, they've gone 11-8 over the last 19 or so games. Okay, that's fine. You're above 500. That's good. But it should not be because you went 9-1 and 2-7. That shouldn't happen. this offense looked lifeless. Julio was good. Eugenio Suarez started kind of picking it back up, but Josh Naylor looked atrocious. I'm gonna really try and control my emotions when I say this next part. Dylan Moore was in the starting lineup twice this series. Mitch, do you know how many hits Dylan Moore had in the month of June?
2.
1.
Ah,
You know how many hits he had in the month of July?
I'm gonna assume 1.
Mm-hmm. You want to take a guess at how many hits he has in the month of August?
None.
1.
Ah, damn it.
In 3 months, Dylan Moore has gotten 3 hits. He's like... He is legitimately, statistically, the worst player in baseball. And has been. Like, this isn't just a fluke. This isn't just a slump. He has been the worst player in baseball for the last 3 months. And I hate saying these sorts of things because these are people's jobs, their livelihoods. These are people. And I personally like Dylan Moore, but I can't take this team seriously if Dylan Moore is still on the roster. Not even just if Dylan Moore is starting. If Dylan Moore is still on the roster, like, I can't take this team seriously. Miles Mastrobuoni, fantastic name, by the way. He was sent down to AAA. He was batting .300 since the month of May. He was above average batting since the month of May. But he got sent down, and Dylan Moore was kept on this team. Ben Williamson, who isn't offensively amazing, he was at least performing better than Dylan Moore. He got sent down in place of Dylan Moore.
Ow.
Like, look, Mitch Garver is not great. I don't like seeing him in the lineup, but he at least can do some things. Donovan Solano, exact same sentiment. In fact, he's even a little better than Mitch Garver. Every single time I hear Dylan Moore's name in the Mariners broadcast, at this point, I just roll my eyes. I'm just like, cool, we're throwing away the game. Great. Like, a serious team does not put a player who has gotten 3 hits in 3 months out on the field. A team that is in the middle of a playoff push and actually thinks that they can make a playoff push does not put a player who has 3 hits in 3 months out on the field. A team who's serious about making the World Series when everybody is saying they can make the World Series does not put a player who has an OPS of 130, which for the record, because I know stats are hard, an average OPS I think is somewhere around 650, and his is 130.
Also, not to crush your dreams even more, but the Mariners actually only have 34 games left, not 36.
Yeah, it's even better.
I just, wanted to correct you on something about the Mariners.
No, I appreciate that. I'm glad that you got that opportunity.
Because I don't get to do that often. I was like, hold on a second,
exactly.
I don't think that's right. But, yeah. 34 games, unfortunately, left.
As a side note, speaking of, like, games left and everything, my theory as to why the Mariners shit the bed this road trip is because they were waiting to get win 69 while they were at home.
And you know what? Fair enough. And it'll be against the Athletics anyway.
This road trip was hard. It left a bad taste in my mouth. But there were a couple things that were said on some shows that I was listening to that gave me a little bit of hope, and I want to make sure I extend that to you guys and extend that to you, Mitch, as well. A team is not as good as their peak, and they're not as bad as their floor, more often than not. So if we take the fact that this team went 9-1 and 2-7, this team is likely somewhere in between, which they're 500 or above 500, which is okay. I'm okay with that. I can live with that. The other thing is, it's not great. Like, basically, at the same time the Mariners have been tanking with this road trip, the Astros have also been doing the same. So long as you keep this, so long as you stay within 3 games behind the Astros, you're in good shape because we have a 3-game set going. We have a 3-game set against the Astros in September. That set could very well be for the division. Um, so, it obviously was a horrible, horrible, like, it was the road trip from hell, with the Robles situation, with the team performing bad. Bryce Miller came back. He looked solid, so that was cool. But just, I mean, dude, there was a game where Logan Gilbert was only able to pitch the first 2 innings in the game, and then he had to be taken out. That's how bad he was doing. Logan Gilbert. Like, it was the road trip from hell. This is the time you have to strike. This is the opportunity you have to overtake the Astros and finally get that fucking monkey off your back. But no, you're deciding to have a mid off and losing to two teams that are, or losing to a team that's below 500 and a team that's on a 7-game losing streak, and then getting swept by the Phillies. Like,
Listen,
come on,
you
man.
know the Mariners,
Be so fucking for
they
real.
love to play down to their opponents, and in this case, instead of playing down to who they're actually playing against, they're playing down to make sure that they continue giving you a heart attack.
Yes, but the thing that's frustrating is, like,
They'll only start playing
so
well again if the
another thing.
Astros play well, apparently.
Yeah, and then we'll still never make any ground. The other thing that's frustrating is this team, because, like, there have been plenty of occasions where it's like, well, this is just what the Mariners do. This is just how the Mariners are. And normally I believe that, but this is, on paper and statistically, the best team the Mariners have ever rolled out. This is the best pitching they've ever had. This is the best offense they've ever had. Both, again, like I said, on paper, statistically, every sign points to this being the best team they've ever had. So it's hard for me to take the, now in the sense of, you're saying, like, like, oh, they're playing down just to give me a heart attack. Yeah, that's fair. But, like, there are people who are like, well, like, this is just how the Mariners play. Yeah, because the Mariners have always fielded teams where, half the players on the roster, or half the players in the lineup, are below average. There's a stat that I don't know how familiar you are with it, or the people listening to this, but WRC plus, which is basically just weighted runs created, which is just how many runs you generate. 100 is average. That's anybody with a 100 WRC plus is just your average, which is fine. Below that, you're below average. Above that, you're above average. Most of the Mariners teams in the last 5, 6, 7 years, this team is, like I said, the best team that the Mariners have ever put out there. And again, the best team is going to lose every once in a while. They're going to have bad stretches. This shit sucks. There are a lot of things that the team needs to do better. There are things that Dan Wilson, the manager, needs to do better. The pitching needs to be better. You have no excuse to do this again. But, that being said, as firm as I am on that point, I do, however, still think that this team is one of the best teams in the American League. I do still firmly believe that this team is going to make the playoffs, and I still believe that this team will win the AL West this year. I do not believe that this team is bad. I do not believe that this road trip is indicative of how this team is going to be moving forward. It's unfortunate that it happened. It's annoying that it happened when it happened. But also, it happens. If it can happen to the Astros, and they still are a scary team that nobody wants to face, the Mariners can be in the same position, because, frankly, as it stands right now, they are scarier. But, sorry, I had to pause just to, like, collect my thoughts after that little rant. Yeah, I still believe in this team. Like I said, there's a lot of things that need to be worked on, but I do ultimately still believe in this team. Um, we've got a good opportunity with this homestand coming up. They have a break tomorrow. They can get right. The pitchers can rest. The guys can get their heads right. They're coming home. I think things will be okay, but I still wish this road trip didn't go the way it did. Um, and that's honestly mostly it for the Mariners section of this. But there is one important thing I want to touch on. Before I do that, do you have anything that you've been holding in that you want to say?
Two things. One,
Mm-hmm.
as far as the road trip goes, I kind of expected the Phillies one to go
Yeah.
bad. Not as bad
They're
as
the
it
best team in the
did.
National League.
Not as bad as the 11-2 win that happened, but
Ugh. Yeah.
the most recent
You can
loss.
see why I turned this game off halfway through.
I didn't expect it to be that bad, but that happens, especially if you're playing one of the best
Mm-hmm.
teams in the league. That's going to happen,
Mm-hmm.
unfortunately. uh, but I did expect the Phillies series to go bad. I didn't. If we won one of those, I would have been ecstatic and would have
Mm-hmm.
loved it, but I didn't think we would win any of those games, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Just because of how
Yeah.
good they were. The Mets series I thought was going to go better than what it did.
My final thing I want to bring up. Um,
Hey, Mitch here. Unfortunately, Rich's mic did cut out during a very important topic we were talking about. Taylor Saucedo got sent a horrible DM. I'm going to read it verbatim here. It says, I hope your fucking head gets blown off to pieces walking in Philly, you autistic, ugly piece of shit. If your whore of a wife slash GF could die, that would be awesome as well. And that's just horrible behavior. So if you condone that behavior or act that way yourself, Rich and I both said during that process, you can get the fuck out of here. And that means off this page and out of this state. You are not a Seattle fan, and we do not want anything to do with you or that kind of behavior.
Recap. Good time to be a sports fan. Good time to be a Seattle sports fan. Football's almost back. We're about to hit some postseason baseball. College football is about to come back. These Huskies about to go nutty. Um, and yeah, I think we're in for a treat. So um, yeah, that's gonna do it from us here at the South Sound Mariners podcast. Again, thank you, Mitch, for hopping on and hanging out as usual. I always enjoy talking Seahawks with you. Um, if you enjoyed this episode, do all the podcasty things, like, comment, all those fun stuff. Um, follow me on TikTok. Same name, South Sound Mariners podcast. I post Mariner daily updates there. Having an absolute blast, so please come check that out if that so interests you. Um, but yeah, Mitch, you got anything before we sign off?
Go Hawks.
Yep. Thank you guys for listening. Go Hawks. Go Mariners. Tridents up.